Tonight, the muddy job ahead for Dubbo businesses swamped by floodwaters. More rain arrives, dumping a few inches on some towns, wiping out a causeway. Clean-up bill, floodwaters recede, revealing the big job ahead. And Survivor, the tale of this little fella who made his way out of floodwaters to safety.
This is Prime News with Hugh Whitfell.
Good evening, everyone. There are fresh warnings about big floods headed for some local towns over the next 24 hours. We'll bring you right up to date on the situation tonight. Also in sport, zipping by, some top names win all the glory at the Cycling Grand Prix in Bathurst. Heavy rain has again fallen in parts of the region today, putting several towns on notice for flooding. The most serious situations are developing at Molong and Eugowra, where the worst floods in years are forecast for tonight and tomorrow morning. Nathan Stitt is in Orange tonight with the latest. Nathan.
Hugh, Orange got more than an inch and a half in just a short period this afternoon. It created isolated flash flooding in parts of the city. Now at Manildra, 3 inches fell in just 30 minutes. Locals have told us it put water through homes and businesses. Thousands of sandbags are on the way to Kewdale, which is experiencing flash flooding too. Now this afternoon, a person was rescued from floodwaters between Spring Hill and Lucknow. Now, Hugh, all eyes are on Eugowra over the next 12 hours or so. 3 inches fell in just 3 hours this afternoon in the Mandadgery catchment. The creek is forecast to hit 9.5 metres tomorrow morning. At that height, the town's bridge will close and access to both the east and west sides of the town would be cut. It's likely the creek's bank will break, and there's fears for businesses and homes on the Forbes side of the creek. Residents are being urged to put their belongings in high places. An evacuation centre is in the process of being set up at the Eugowra Public School, but of course if you need help, the State Emergency Service is the number to call on 132 500. Hugh, back to you.
All right, Nathan Stitt, thank you. The Molong Creek in Molong is peaking around now at 3.5 metres. The SES says flooding below that experienced in 2005 is likely, but homes and businesses in the lower parts of the town are likely to be flooded. The RTA is advising against all non-essential travel in the Central West tonight. The Newell, Mitchell, Oxley and Castlereagh highways are all likely to be affected by flooding if they aren't already. There is a long list of local roads shut tonight, including the Olympic Highway between Bendick-Murrill and Young and the Lachlan Valley Way north of Burrawa. And road closures around parks have forced the postponement of the local high school presentation night tonight. That's on the advice of police. If you want more information on road closures, head to the RTA website, rta.nsw.gov.au. Big rain in Dubbo this afternoon and this evening too. Some shop owners in the city's CBD claim they were given little warning about the first round of flooding that's inundated parts of their businesses. Many are still mopping up and trying to trade at the same time.
This is all that's left of Ian Graham's basement. His engineering shop on Macquarie Street backs onto the river. When the floodwaters passed through on Saturday, there was no saving it.
It's not good. Can't do much about it, but it'd be better if it didn't happen.
Anthony Barnes runs a sports store on the main street. From first glance, it's business as usual for the retailer, but this is the view from the back of the shop. The water flooded into his basement as well.
This is our livelihood, so this supports myself, my family and my staff and their families, so there'll be some people in some definite hardship.
Adele Alton is one of the lucky business owners on Macquarie Street.
We could see the water rising from top of our street, yes. And that's when I started to get worried.
So worried, she started packing up around $100,000 worth of next season's stock and moving it upstairs.
And 3 of the men got in the water nearly up to their waists and started carrying boxes. And we got away from here, I'd say, after 11 o'clock.
The damage list goes on. Parts of the Centro and Riverdale shopping centres are still closed. This end of Macquarie Street is a ghost town.
It's been very quiet because of the city centre of Riverdale being closed all week. It's no one's buying anything.
Shop owners say the customers will come back. What they're most concerned about is the lack of notification they received during the flood event.
Had we been given some notice by the relevant authorities, probably during the night, we could have had 4 or 5 hours to do something. But unfortunately, the system, if there is one in place, was non-existent.
The SES is responsible for issuing warnings.
The SES put in place a door knocking process. Sometimes invariably we may miss some people, but we put in systems in place to ensure that that doesn't happen again.
Antonia Morrow in Dubbo, Prime News.
Well, Young copped a big downpour last night and this morning. 81 millimetres or more than 3 inches of rain fell in just 24 hours. All the water down Burrangong Creek wiped out this causeway near the bowling club on Lachlan Street. Bowling club manager Vince Beeler sent in the photos and video. He got quite a shock when he turned up at work to see what was going on. More from Young tomorrow night. The clean-up bill for damaged roads around Dubbo is likely to top $10 million. As the first lot of floodwaters recede, the damage is becoming clear.
The Macquarie River at Dubbo dropped back today. What's left behind for the council, a damage bill that's ticking over in the millions.
It's very messy. Obviously, there's a lot of fallen timber, hay bales, dead animals. Goodness knows what we're going to find.
The bitumen on Blythe Street has been torn apart. It looks more like ripped carpet. Roadblocks around the city has forced heavy vehicles onto local roads. This causeway on Yarrandale Road is barely holding up.
We've had about 60 council staff pretty much working on and off round the clock since the emergency started.
This is just the visible damage right now. Once the river recedes, the council will have a better understanding of what the damage bill will actually be. Right now, they're forecasting it could reach up to $10 million.
We started last weekend with a figure of $2.5 million, but I'm sure it's up to 10 million already. With the extra damage we're seeing and finding.
Stewart says it could take 12 months to fix everything. Fortunately, ratepayers won't have to pick up the tab. The council's been declared a natural disaster zone, but the threat of another flood event is still very real.
Yes, the weather is quite unstable, so we are on alert. We have SES teams throughout the Macquarie region in places like Warren and Trangie and Dubbo itself.
To prepare, a second sandbagging depot has been set up at the showground. Locals are asked to help themselves. Antonia Morrow in Dubbo, Prime News.
Well, 4 more local councils were declared natural disaster zones today. Lithgow, Bathurst, Forbes and Burrawa areas have been added to the list. 16 Western Shires and cities have now been declared natural disaster areas. It means much of the clean-up work will be paid for by state and federal governments, and locals may be entitled to help. There's been plenty of reports of snakes emerging out of the scrub and bushes flushed out by the floods, but what about an echidna? A viewer in Dubbo has sent us this vision. It's hard to see what exactly he is under the water. The echidna was trying to get out of floodwaters on Thompson Street in West Dubbo. He struggles through and eventually makes it out to dry land. Witnesses have told us the little bloke found refuge in some long grass and under a bushy tree. And it's good to see a good news story on a night like this. Things really escalated elsewhere around New South Wales today. At Queanbeyan in the state's south, 100 residents and business owners were evacuated after 4 inches fell last night. 10 people had to be rescued by boat. Down at Wagga, flash flooding has inundated parts of the city, so far protected by the levee. Some residents there have been forced out of their homes since Saturday. Most were allowed back today. Further south at Tarcutta, parts of the town have been evacuated after the creek rose quickly. More on those places next on 7 News. The latest now from Daniel Gibson. Dan, have we seen the last from this rain yet?
G'day Hugh. Yeah, unfortunately mate, heavy falls around tonight into the wee hours of the morning. The good news is that system will clear and move quite rapidly, but as we well know, there's a few centres we need to keep an eye on. We'll have more on all that real soon.
OK, thank you, Dan. If things turn nasty, there's people to call. There's a public information centre, the number 1800 227 228, and the number for the SES is 132 500. They're the best people to call if you run into trouble with storms and floods.